5 minutes late to my own party. I'm sorry, you guys. I have such awful hat hair today. I hope you guys like me rumpled because that's what you're gonna get most of the time. Uh but we'll put the hat on and there we go. Just like that, right? Okay, we're gonna go see if we can't sit on the patio today. It's sort of nice out there. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm so tired of these four walls. We're gonna go see if we can't sit outside today. How's everybody? Hey, Philological, how you doing? Nice seeing ya. What did you think of the video? You have to let me know what you thought of the music because I was slightly inspired on that. Oh, and I have to pour some coffee before I go anywhere, obviously. Is it offensive to say duh? Like it should be, right? Like relatable. I need to get out too, right? Yeah. We're gonna go see if we can't sit outside today. It was wet, but I think it was covered, so we shall see. There's the plunger for this thing. Okay. Are you a coffee drinker? Didn't notice the music. You're right. See, it's subtle. And I want it to be. I don't want it to be so loud that it jumps out at you. But what I did was, it's kind of a little, so you know what to look for, listen for, whatever. It's kind of a little swing trio number. Da, 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 da. My husband says it reminds him of the Mario music, whatever. That's not why I chose it. But so then when Contra is talking, I used a different version of the same song that has this kind of lazy kind of trumpet over it. Wow, 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 wow. And I thought it just fit the rhythm of his speech so perfectly. And I laugh every single time I watch it. So, yeah. Your coffee fiend. Yeah, right on, right on. All the smartest people are. Yeah. So I like I say, I was kind of inspired because I was just sort of trying to figure like which piece to use, and then I put it under there, and I was like, oh, this works so well, And she love those little moments when stuff just comes together. Cheers. Mm. Thank you, thank you. It was a little shorter this week. I had a larger thing prepared based on that interview that they had because thank you, right? And I try to just do little sweeteners, and not overwhelm it with that. But where it needs it, where it calls for it, you know what I mean? Like, thank you for appreciating it. It does. That means something. That means a lot. But like, so I had a longer thing prepared. And then I sat down to look at it and I went, okay, I have 17 minutes worth of footage because this was a long podcast. It was well over an hour long. And I went into the whole Holocaust denial thing like long, more in depth. And this has been talked about, you know. Last week I saw several, good things. Like this has been talked about. I don't really need to cover that again. Anyone who's been following this is going to, have seen some of that too. But there were one or two just really solid, and by solid, I mean really stupid things. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to simplify this. I'm going to take one or two points that I want to make and make them well. You know what I mean? So then, yeah, I had a little extra time in the editing to do stuff like that because I wasn't editing something that was half an hour long, 45 minutes long. Because, you have to go back and watch it through every time and then it adds up, And as much as I love you guys, I don't want to be up all night. And I feel like surely the lives the next day are more engaging when I'm not exhausted. So I do it for you, really. I do it for you. I do it for all of us, We should all take at least decent care of ourselves for all of our sake, right? We're all nicer when we've had some sleep. You want to come outside? Okay. Ooh, I should bring my phone too. Duh. Oh, I did it again. Did it again. Did it again. I don't want to. I just. Okay, I'm a 90s kid, right? So that's kind of one of those things that has long ago become involuntary. Like, duh. I mean, I'm not sure if anyone else finds it offensive. I don't know that it offends me, but it's not great. And I don't want to, like, cringe at myself, you know? I'm like, this is all me. No one has said anything to me about this. I'm just hearing myself and going, that's a questionable expression, right? Anyone knows where that comes from? I have mixed feelings that we're calling what Rowling said Holocaust denials. Getting facts wrong about the Holocaust, sure. You're calling her a denier makes her sound like a neo-Nazi. Exactly. They blew it out of proportion. That was my take on it. Oh, we have some water retention. Look at that. Ooh, okay. You're just going to have to deal with that. And yeah, the cushion's dry. We should be able to sit down. Hooray, hooray, hooray. I have to put you somewhere safe while I deal with the water. Somewhere safe. That is easier said than done. That was dry, and it will be again. But for now... Okay. Stay in the yard, please. Please stay in the yard. Okay? That dog likes to run off. Well, that's gorgeous. You should see it at night. I can't wait till I can film out here again and the weather really gets nice because they have lights wrapped around the branch and everything. It's very atmospheric at night. People can't just say stuff is a little bit good or bad anymore. It's either terrific or horrific. Well, and I think also they absolutely leapt on that because of who it was. She made a mistake. Oh my God. They have to jump on that because they've been trying to vilify her for years, along with the rest of the gender critical, as a bunch of conservative monsters. And this plays right into that. So that was what I was hoping it was. You ready for the deluge? Not exactly a deluge, but hopefully it'll drain out. Let's see. These are peonies. They're going to be big floppy flowers. And I don't actually remember what this one is. But it's got red blossoms on it already. Let's see. And that is probably the world's worst, most poorly placed rose bush. Poor thing. Ooh, I wish I could show you. It's inside. I actually got a clipping of it that took over the winter. What up, Susie? How you doing, girl? No, I did though. But so this rose bush right here is probably the world's worst placed rose bush. The poor thing. I planted it when it was but a sprig 4 years ago or something, and I did. I got a clipping to take over the winter. It's inside now because I came out here when it first got warm enough to come out here, and I noticed that something was alive, and I thought, oh boy, I better rescue that because it is in a dangerous spot. Everything out here is a little extra damp today. What is that in the background? Oh, a jar full of paintbrushes and stuff. Fun. Hey Susie, how are things? Things are okay, thanks. How's your thesis all done? in the editing process, I believe is what I heard. Read, whatever. Check it out. We're just still dripping. I don't know if you can see it dripping over there. Or if you can hear it. If you hear it dripping, that's why. And hopefully eventually, that will. But the damn thing stayed up, you guys. I'm so happy the damn tarp stayed up. It's okay. I got up to 100,000 words in cut a section, so it's back to down to 80,000. Oh! Is that just since earlier when you said 100,000? I mean, it's not like I feel cheated or anything. Why did you decide to cut that section? That's a big section. I mean, they do say kill your darlings. Oh. Oh my God. I mentioned having writer's block earlier. I don't exactly have writer's block. I honestly don't. I don't have sufficient time at any one go to focus on it properly. Lately. I don't know. Lots of reasons why you cut it. Video was good, by the way, and thankfully short, as I can't tolerate either of those men talking for too long, especially Contra with that lisp he thinks makes him sound female. Is that what it is? Him doing an English accent is always entertaining. No, but so... Yeah, no, really, I'm trying to work out an issue with the book, is what it is. It's not that I have writer's block. It's that I'm, climbing this very sheer, thing right now. I don't think Contra's lisp is voice training thing. I think Contra had it before transition. If anything, I think women have a more sibilant S than men, maybe? He wants to sound like a little girl. It is extremely off-putting. There is definitely something about the way he talks that is a little nauseating after a while, which may have contributed to why I cut it down a little bit. But like I say, not really. I made that decision for me and you, for us. You know what I'm saying? not did anything to do with him, really. But he. I can't wait till he starts to age. Right? That one's going to be one that has problems with aging, I think, too. I think a lot of them will. Probably, actually. Because who wants to be an old woman? Even Caitlyn Jenner doesn't want to be an old woman. And he's, what? I don't know exactly how old that guy is. But Bruce Jenner was on Wheaties boxes before I was born. So, take that for what it's worth. I don't get little girl vibes from how Contra talks at all. And I have 2 female friends who do try to sound childish. So I've heard a lot of it. That's how it comes off to you, to her, to Susie. And I can see how you two would definitely have a difference in perspective there. Right? That just stands to reason. As for a way he, definitively, we can definitely say that it's probably not the natural voice for that form, right? That's not how that person would have sounded without intervention, right? I think we can all agree with that. Lisp or not. Personally, I can't stand when people try to sound childish. Yeah, right. No, that is definitely off-putting. I don't know that he's trying to sound childish so much as he thinks he's trying to sound like a woman. It has difficulty separating those two things. It's fairly garden variety misogyny there. Because women are also short. Oh my gosh. I know I shouldn't be. But it pretty much instantly disrespects someone who does that. Yeah. Well, what the hell do they think is going to happen? When you are aping, a person who is, by their very nature, not responsible. What is that meant to accomplish other than to lose your respect? I'm not sure what they're going for with that. Anyway, exactly. None of these men want to be old women, unattractive women, short-haired women, etc., etc. Just their male fantasy idea of women. I wonder if I sound childlike. People usually say my voice passes. Do you narrate your videos? Because like I seriously, I came. I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. I came upon one of your videos, some of your in like organically, because I was literally looking into like medieval documents, like that is in research for the book, and I was like, oh. I should watch but it wasn't quite what, and I was laser focused on my research, right? So I did not watch it. And like, I'm sorry, but like they're kind of old anyway, right? But like, is your voice in the videos? Because I can't tell, and it's sort of strange. I feel like we've known each other for a while, and I do not know what you look or sound like, so that's kind of strange. So I don't know, but I can't tell you that. I feel like if you did though, you'd know. I mean, if you came across as childlike, I feel like you'd know that because people would treat you like a child, at least sometimes, in a way that maybe you don't anticipate. I think we all have that to some degree. That's, that dysphoria, right? That thing where like your inner sense of yourself and the way the world reacts to you do not match. But so what you just implied there, I don't know if you meant to do this, and I don't know if you mean this. What you just implied there, I think, is that you don't want to believe that of Contra because then you wouldn't be able to respect him. Just to read too much into it there for a second. Yeah. For real, if I sound like a child, I'm fixing that shit. Right. Nobody wants no reasonable person, no reasonable adult, because it does. It automatically, you're like volunteering for that role, right? Which is, like raising your hand and saying, "I'm not responsible for anything." Which, as an adult, what are the other adults around you supposed to say? Oh, that's great. Good for you there. I'm just gonna, ignore that because what are you gonna do? Then ask them for their opinion? They won't take responsibility for it. They say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. And I mean, yeah, that's all well and good. But you see that cover a lot of times way long before you get to interact with somebody. You see them from like way off, right? I do believe that we developed this as a form of communication. Isn't it exhausting to put on a fake voice 24/7? Like one assumes. I often just wear male clothes while out, and people think I'm way younger than I actually am when they register me as male. I'm 28, but people guess that I'm around 20. Well, and the thing about that is, if you're secure in whatever it is that you have, if you're secure in your sense of yourself, then you might understand how, like, and this is going to sound a little cheesy, but I think of it like a faceted gemstone, okay? You just can't see all of the sides of a human being at the same time. You just can't. It's just not possible. That doesn't mean that they are not both there and perfectly reasonably connected to the part you can see, right? And they might be at some weird angles and reflect some weird shit, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense as a person. That doesn't mean that person is like, I don't know, crazy or something. So if you're secure, in what you have going on, you can just kind of understand that and laugh it off. It's like, oh, okay, that's how they're interpreting the part of me they can see. That's way off. And off you go about your life, right? And it doesn't really affect water off a duck's back. It's not fake. At this point, I don't put active effort into it or think about it. Well, and you've had hormone treatments too, which affects the soft tissue. Not to mention use affects soft tissue too. It absolutely, that's what working out to build muscle is, right? And as a former singer, I don't talk about this much, but I was a voice major in college for a while, a year and a half. When I say a while, I don't mean a few weeks. It is the desire to look and remain young is a motivation for many males to take estrogen. Isaac Uncooked is a great example of that. I have not taken in much of his content at all, so I'm not going to really comment on that, other than there's something really serious going on there, and I wish that that fellow would get some good, consistent help. That's all I'm going to say to that. Estrogen doesn't affect the larynx, I don't think. But yeah, use absolutely does. Probably I've just gotten accustomed to it. Well, and time does. Your larynx thins with age, I believe. For real. I have no idea what Isaac Steel is. Yeah, I don't know. I have not tried to figure it out. That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of that. I do that unconsciously. I do that without meaning or wanting to. I will just be interacting with someone and like connecting dots in the back of my mind, and I don't want to try to figure out what's going on with that one because it's a deep dark hole. I can see that from here, and I don't want to go down that hole. Not to be rude, but if you are in an emergency and need to call attention, wouldn't you slip into your natural voice? See, and this is the thing about vocal training. As I say, it's like a muscle in that it does change with use. So that's like saying if you've practiced a certain range of motion and then you were to fall outside of it accidentally after a long period of time, I feel like you might strain yourself. You know? Again, just thinking about it from my own vocal training, which is nothing like, singing. It's nothing like, and diction and all of that. Yes. But, like, speaking of lisps, I have one. And it is a silent lisp, and I'm not using it right now. Let me see. I gotta think about it now, but naturally I speak with one. But my ear is good enough that I had managed to mimic this to the point where I and no one else ever noticed. There it was. A little bit. And the only reason that I ever learned this was when I went to college and took diction classes for my voice major and was taught how to properly pronounce all the letters and everything. And I sat back and I went, you mean to tell me I've been mispronouncing my own name my whole life? I don't think so. If anything, when I shout from stubbing my toe or something, it's higher pitched. Interesting. Though, if that were to happen in an emergency, I don't know. Or is that I don't care? I'm not trying to hide being male. I don't know about Susie, but for me, it is purely, like an academic curiosity sort of thing. And it does. It relates a lot to a lot of the training that I have had, and I understand how, with use, these things can shift. There's a couple of inflections in my voice which are more male than female, but so what? How? Like, nothing wrong with that. And usually people say my voice sounds nice. So that is really the kicker, isn't it? That's really the male or female. If somebody's voice grates on you, it really doesn't matter. I find in fact it's fascinating for academic and psychological reasons. Okay, right, yeah. So I don't think either of us is trying to pick on you. I know I'm not. And it's an interesting idea. And to my mind, it would be almost like sort of like singing constantly. And I imagine there would be certain things that would go into maintaining that, at least at first. But, you said you've been doing it long enough, you don't think about it anymore. I'm so glad that I never had to try to sound like a man, because I would sound like my dad. Because a lot of times I already sound like a pitched up version of my dad, so. No, that's entirely fair. I find it interesting too. Right on. So you don't mind talking about it. Thank you. That's good. I guess that's what I was getting at. But yeah, as far as gender stuff, they say that eventually you're gonna, you see your parent in the mirror. And I realized a long time ago that I just look a whole lot like my dad, so I don't ever have to worry about that. I'm never gonna see that old man in the mirror. Well, has always handled my criticisms as trans-identified males with grace. Appreciate that. Yes, right. Thank you for your, patience and generosity, frankly. I mean, with your time and experience. I certainly am not just out to get anybody. And I finally got to explain to our oldest the other day, why that I used to believe I was a boy. I did. And she's like, oh, so that's why you're so interested in all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, there, but for the grace of time go I. I would have been in line for my testosterone shots at 13. Are you kidding me? What up, Scott? Yeah, they had they would have had a decent view of it here, except it was cloudy that day. Oh my god, the 6-year-old was in tears when I picked him up from school. He was legit heartbroken that he missed another eclipse, because we had one here. We had almost, I want to say, a total one the year he was born. So he was there, but he does not remember it. And I feel like that has functioned to him as like this tantalizing, thing that he almost achieved now. And gosh, we're not going to have another one for like 20 years. So he'll be a grown man by then. I wonder if he'll still be as interested by then. Hey, Scott, I saw a half eclipse here. Right on. We only had 20% coverage here, and we had overcast skies. Right. It just got real dark in the middle of the afternoon. Apparently there's a lesbian accent, same way there's a camp accent, but people are worse at picking up on it. Okay. In that, subcultures do tend to share a manner of speech. You do tend to share, talk like the people around you, the people you spend time with. So, okay. That makes sense. In 2017, we had 91% coverage. It was as if someone had put a huge sunglass up in the sky. You're going to laugh at me, but I don't really remember it. I remember standing around in the field. My family came to visit. I remember the baby with us. I don't really remember the eclipse. And I have to blame baby brain. That is the only thing. Like, I legit, I don't remember. Did Trump stare directly into the eclipse this time too? Oh, I do remember that. Oh my god. That's even worse than George W. Bush waving at Stevie Wonder, isn't it? Because that's just stupid. The other thing had been like well publicized not to do that in the days running up to the like. It's as if George W. Bush's aides have been telling him for days, now don't you wave at Stevie Wonder, he's blind. Now don't you do that. And then he did it anyway. I don't. But I'll tell you one thing. This whole Israel thing is really the stone in Biden's shoe. And if they manage to lose because of that, and because Trump put money in people's pockets, okay? Like, it's going to be those two things. If Trump wins, that's going to be why. Those two things right there. There's my political soapbox moment for the week. It seems that some trans men learn and adopt the very bad male behavior patterns and a male privilege mindset. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which, I'm sure they think means that they are true men inside. But I think that demonstrates that mindset is not a male thing. Okay? Those that awful, nasty, destructive behavior, that entitled mindset is absolutely something women can also have. Hooray. Yes, Biden went into full war hawk mode in the State of his Union address. I missed that. On purpose. Because again, that's another one of those things where I'm going to start looking at that guy and trying to figure out what's going on with him, and I don't want to do that. Here's a rabbit hole I don't want to get into. Oh my god. Really? I'm sure there's some, but I've not seen too many like that. No. Like, I'm not saying they all do. I've definitely seen some who seem to wear it as, like, a badge of honor. Like, look at me. I'm so butch. I'm such a big dude. Like, they do the same. It's that same. I think it comes from the same place of insecurity, ironically. When the debates come, Biden is going to melt. It's so depressing. Oh. That's going to be like watching two half-soaked firecrackers go off at the same time. I hadn't even got that far yet. Oh my God. Oh my God. Where will be debates? Will there be debates? I somehow doubt it. Like they have to, right? They can't just not do that. This America. You can't just not do that. Both Biden and Trump have brain dementia, with Biden being further along. Bloomington, Indiana, totality, no rapture. Oh, hey, Joe. You're in Bloomington, Indiana? Oh, I got right on. There's a street named after my dad's family in Bloomington, Indiana. um, no rapture? That's good to know. Although it is, no offense, I'm from there, so I can say this. It is Indiana. How would you know? How would you know? I know a lot of people in Indiana. I don't think a single one of them would be considered. Did you enjoy the eclipse, though? Carbondale, Illinois was smack in the middle of both the 2017 and 2024 eclipses. Lucky them. If you're going to go looking for a rapture, I would look there. I'm not from here. Just let me say that at the outset. Oh, I am. I was born in Indianapolis. So, are you going to IU? You go to IU? Excuse me. Not to get personal. Like I say, there is a road in Bloomington, Indiana, named after my dad's family. They pretty much owned the sheriff's department for like 30 years. Not to brag. My dad's arm is like the black sheep arm of the family. So, yeah. Always Susie, you're my homegirl. I've been to the Indianapolis airport, but not the city itself. There is a big airport there. Yeah. I love the love in the comments. This is so great. Or in the chat, whatever. I love it. It's so great. Yeah, I don't know. I literally am from there, and I'm having trouble coming up with a reason to take my family there. I ended up here because I married a narcissist who works at Crane. Oh, I stayed here because I'm a decent human and didn't want to take his children away from him, even though he ignored them to work. How long ago was that? We were diverted there from O'Hare because of the blizzard of January 1979. Crane, as in the gender surgeon? Oh, no, surely not. What does Crane do? I want to see shipping materials. It's been a while. It's a naval base. Oh! Okay. Wow. That's even more special. A naval base in Indiana. Yikes. The next time my husband brings up that thing about how there's more than corn in Indiana, I'm going to tell him, yeah, there's naval bases there, remember? That's funny. Ugh. Eyelash is trying to stab me. But yeah, in 1979, I was not there yet. So my grand aunt lives in Angola, Indiana. Wow. The whole world is in Indiana. Peru, Angola. Wow. Well, they're adults, and my grandchildren are here now, so that's why I stayed. A long time ago. I planned my escape and got out with my kids, even though he's rich. Yikes. Well, that's a tough choice to have to make. But, you know, I have heard tell that was a hard winter. But I was not there for that. I was not yet aware. I was not yet aware of anything in 1977, 8, 9, whatever. Glad you managed to get out, Joe. Yeah. Glad you managed to get out. And you've got your grandkids to get to know, so that's that's a lot. I can't even say how much that is because I don't have any yet. But one can imagine, you know. Look at the rose bush for a minute. Anyway, welcome to the stream, Joe. You helping liven things up so far. Ooh, and it looks like our water has just about drained away. So let's go over there and poke at that real quick. I was lucky because he was gone all the time. In a bad marriage, yeah, I can see how that would be. Yes, it was. Chicago got absolutely clobbered by heavy snowstorms. It got down to 10 below for 2 mornings in a row. My dude, this was over 40 years ago. How do you remember stuff like this? I'm not saying you're making it up or anything. Like, I'm not saying that's not true. It probably is. But, like, I don't even remember what last winter was like to that degree. I had a really loving parents. So I was lucky. I had a lot of support and help. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. That's probably made all the difference. Excuse me. That probably made all the difference, huh? Ugh. There we go. There's the last of it. Woo. It hangs a little low, but I don't care. It's up there. It kept the cushion dry. Oh, we have some more over here. What am I saying? It's literally right behind me. Ba-dum. Oh, you probably can't even see it. There it is. So it's dripping on my cushion. Can't have that. Tut tut. Where are my scissors? You guys loving my little garden tutorial, huh? I'll point this upwards so you can see what I'm doing. No regrets. My kids are amazing humans. That's awesome. Madison, Wisconsin got down to 28 below. I was in college back then. Went through it. That's how I know. We had a late spring in 1979 too. Like, I'm not saying you don't know this, but like I say, I have difficulty recalling last winter, like literally the one that just passed, with that level of clarity. It, and hearing people, I've had conversations like this before with people who, say that they remember stuff that happened before I was even born with, a greater level of clarity than I remember my entire life. And I just think, am I even here? Gotta move everything out of the way. I do have these pipes. I don't use them much. Oh, a grub! Well, you can just come right out of there. I don't want you in here anyway. Go away. Okay. So the idea is I cut strategic holes and then I can control the flow of water. I lived through all that. It was a very significant winter. And it made an impact on you. That's obviously true. And, there are things in my life that made an impact on me, too, obviously. But, I don't know. I remember things in different ways. I don't know. Not that I never remember details, but, what was the temperature on a given day? Literally, even if I looked at it and it were a part of my day that day, I probably won't remember that. I don't know. Like my little fountain now. It's like a little fountain. Scott, I can barely remember my name. How the hell do you remember it from that long ago? Right. That's what I'm saying. And Jo sounds like she's closer to your age. So, I'm like, you can't say there's nothing that you remember from that long ago, right? But just like the temperature on a given day. ND here. North Dakota? Let's get that bug spray out of the way. So ugly. There, that's better. Sit in front of the water so you can see the plants. No. Neurodivergent. Oh. Yeah. I feel like they're both. No offense to you, Scott. I feel like you might be kind of on the other extreme side of the spectrum, if you know what I'm saying, as far as clarity of memory over time. I don't know that, and I do not mean to insult you. I wager you already know this. I'm not sure that you would be qualified as normal either. You might have an advantage, though. 76, 77 was another very cold winter. I was in high school senior back then. Okay, you are like exactly a year older than my mom. The jet stream went wild. Dipped way down to Cuba. Miami had snow. Nice. Scott, do you have... Oh. But so, yeah. Scott, you have a very cool and unique brain. Right, yeah. No, it sounds like an advantage to me to be able to remember just, details of your life. Yeah. Do I need to remind you, like, this is my diary, okay? Like, and this only goes back to the 9th of March. I've only been in this one for a month. You're 62. Right. So I don't know if I'm neurodivergent. I wager I am. I don't know exactly how neurodivergent, whatever. I take good care of my health and brain. I invest in my health. Take aggressive charge of it. Well, that's respectable. And it sounds like it's working for you. I'm in the process of taking aggressive charge of one or two other things. And having to just sort of eat right and sleep decently, eat decently and sleep right and like get some exercise and hope for the best. Good for you, Scott. I'm very active and healthy myself. Good for you. What were y'all doing when you were my age? What were y'all doing at 40? So here's to that. The actress Mary Lou Henner has a memory where she can recall in detail every day of her life. Can't remember what it's called. Not photograph. Didactic. Ironically, words I'm good with. Like the meaning, the pronunciation of words. My vocabulary is, lies mostly dormant and unused because, well, why? Yes, you are. I know this because I get bored quickly with people who are normal thinkers. Same. And I certainly don't take it as an insult. What? I am weird? I had no idea. Susie, I think that could be a blessing and a curse. You're right. Actually, a cousin of mine had didactic memory, which is how I know that, until she was in a car accident a couple of years ago, and now she has a normal memory like everybody else and has to leave herself Post-it notes and shit to remember stuff. And it shouldn't laugh because it is literal brain damage, but like, it's hard to feel so bad because she still has a better memory than I do. I don't live in the past or the future much. Wait. I missed something. I visited the Grand Canyon when I turned 40. I went to Morocco when I was 40. Well, okay. I'm not doing that shit. But, like, internally and for your health, what were you doing at 40, you punk? Oh. I don't live in the past or the future much. Joe, definitely, especially if your life has been difficult. Blessing and a curse, right? I think that's healthier. Right. To actually stay in the present. What a concept, huh? I let somebody talk me into marrying them after 7 years, and then they left me for their secretary a month after our 5th anniversary. So that was 40 to 45 for me. Okay. Yikes. Yikes. No, and that's one of the things, I mean, goodness knows, I could complain about my relationship on here, and there have been a couple of times I've been tempted to just because he was getting on my nerves that day. But, like, as far as human relationships go, I don't have it so bad. I don't. 7 years and they cheat after a few months? Yeah, right. I mean, for all we know, he was cheating on her when he married her, right? It's probably standard practice for a guy like that, sadly. I did regular walks and focused on eating whole foods. Whole foods. That is exactly what I'm doing. Well, all right then. Cool. I studied with Thich Nhat Hanh for 30 years. He taught me the suffering of living in either of those two illusory spaces. Holy cow! You studied with Thich Nhat Hanh for 30 years? Where was that? I also swam in the lake during the summer. Swimming gets you in shape real quick. That's true. No, but I've just watched too damn many, and I hate that this goes there. I hate that it goes there, but it does. To my mind, it automatically takes me to all the true crime shit I've watched over the years. Like those dudes, those bad dudes, they don't just flip one day. They don't. And I'm not just saying this of men, obviously, bad people, but 99, no, not 99, 95% of the time, if somebody's murdered their spouse, it's a man. And people take this weird conscious experience much too seriously. We don't even know what we are. Laugh at everything. Yeah, there's usually warning signs. But this conversation is going in two different directions at once, isn't it? Woo! Yeah, as far as, the conscious experience, they don't know what it is. And I was just watching something about the current state of, like, hypnotherapy and that kind of thing, right? Which is, like, they're trying to do brain imaging on hypnosis now, of course, with the fMRI. I love that they're sticking everything through an fMRI. That is just the coolest thing. But so the problem is that there is no recognizable, measurable in a brain scan brain state of hypnosis. Whoops. Looking to chatting with complex thinkers, right? Oh my gosh. Swimming is an ideal exercise for women. Gets them in shape in triple quick time. Look at Katie Ledecky. I don't know who that is, but I wager I'd like to. I mean, she's probably in great shape, right? And so they can't quite, and it's one of those things, hypnosis is one of those things that they are, we have the equipment and the understanding now scientifically that they were like, oh, we're going to get to see where consciousness is, and they still can't find it. So that's fun. Scott, women get abused for not being in the shape that men think they should be in. I stay a little fat on purpose, so men like that leave me alone. I probably stay a little fat on purpose in that I am so not worried about that. I'm not tangentially related. The algorithm keeps showing me ads like many postmenopausal women like yourself struggle to lose weight. Meanwhile, you're a 28-year-old trans woman. Oops. Targeting fail. Oh, I get those all the time. They're great, aren't they? Oh my god. What was the really good one? I was just telling him about this morning. Oh, there was a good one. Oh, shoot. I can't remember now. It'll come to me. In an hour and a half when I'm not on here anymore. Right? I didn't even get perimenopausal. Oh, I'm sure you're just so torn up about that, right? Oh, thank you for sitting through the ads. Thank you. Thank you for sitting through the ads. I really appreciate it. Every little bit helps around here. We guys, I'm going to be happy if this week's video is seen by like more than 200 people. Really. The views have just been in the toilet. And I hate to complain. I did complain more than a little bit last week just because it was so disheartening. It's been so disheartening. And then I look around and like, boy, am I not the only person feeling this. Apparently it doesn't actually have a whole lot to do with me getting monetized all of a sudden. I mean, not all of a sudden, but like it's not necessarily directly connected with that. Like a whole lot of bigger channels who have been, floating on ad revenue for years. I saw a weird silent band thing in your channel today. What's that? Please do tell. Oh my goodness. The only thing that happened to me was my period stopped. I've never felt better. It's glorious. Oh, fantastic. That is something to look forward to. The osteoporosis and the brain fog scare me. Mainly because I have brain fog anyway, half the time. So I don't need help there. My son gave me premium for Christmas, so everybody gets paid when I watch them. We like supporting creators. Thank you. Was trying to find an old vid you did, so I typed in Rad Mom Buck Angel, and your vid wasn't in even the first 20 results? Ouch. And you know what the worst part about that is? YouTube is owned by whom? Google. That's the Google algorithm. It's the same fucking search algorithm. I get that Buck is famous, but I feel like if I type in your name first, your video should probably, at least at some point. If those are, okay. This comes up every so often too, because I was raised by legit geeks. My mom taught herself from books to program computers in the 90s. We had a PC at home in the 80s. Okay. So I have some understanding of how search algorithms work. Yes, that's right. YouTube is part of Google. It was Book Angel and Ariel Scasilla videos in the search results. Shadow banned. Right. But so I have some understanding of how these search engines actually work. And so if you literally typed in my name and Buck Angel's name, the thing we're in together should be the first thing that comes up because it most accurately matches your search. And if that's not what happens, then that's bullshit. Okay? Straight up. It is not serving you what you fucking asked it for. Especially if your search has only 2 terms, like hello, the place where those 2 terms meet is probably what you want. This is basic search engine shit from back in the day. So, just tried it for Rod Mom ContraPoints and your vid came up for that. Interesting. The sun has come out here. Why didn't it come out during the eclipse? I don't know. It's nice here today too. I don't know. It was rainy for like 3 days. But so like, hey, I wonder if it isn't Buck Angel then, having some sort of a, that would actually make more sense, right? Because a lot more people know who Buck Angel is. You saw me like fanning myself and getting excited there for a minute because it's like, oh my God, recognition. Like, oh my God, like even the negative kind. It's like, but because I'm just used to sort of over here toiling away in obscurity, Okay, going to run some errands with my girlfriend. See you later. Have a good one, Scott. Be safe. Hope the sun comes out for y'all or stays out. Have a great week. My father was one of the first COBOL programmers in the United States, and my parents were Swiss. I am an immigrant. I had no choice but to be a weirdo. Oh, dear. I mean, same, but for completely different reasons. But so you must know what I'm saying is true then. Like, that is basic search engine logic. If you have 2 search terms and there is a result which contains them both, it should be at or very least near the top. COBOL. Right. I knew what she meant. Don't get pedantic. Yeah, I'm using my talk to text, so it's stupid. Oh. I just figure, typos and whatever, and like I'm not a programmer, okay? I am not. But you don't live around these people. You don't live around people without absorbing, my mom didn't go into this in a vacuum. Her friends were programmers and engineers and nerdy people like that. So I absorbed a lot of this as a kid 30 fucking years ago, okay? And there's just some things about computing that don't change. But so what I'm saying is, I guess that it would make more sense that Buck Angel has perhaps some sort of protective bubble around her. I feel like that would make a lot of sense. I'm a retired editor. You are? What sort of things did you use to edit? Because I don't know if anyone's told you, but I'm currently writing a novel. Like a feminist novel. So it is, relevant to everything else that I do. But I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily need to engage your services as such, but damn if I'm not looking for beta readers. And someone with an experienced eye would be invaluable. But like, where was I? The search engine stuff. Yeah, so that would be why it didn't come up with Buck Angel, but for the other one, what was it? ContraPoints. Which is interesting because that guy, that professor, that dark-haired professor who, schooled that kid or whether J.K. Rowling is transphobic, he had a video up on his channel specifically detailing how his analytics took a nosedive right after he posted a video about ContraPoints. And to me at the time, I just sat back and went, yup, you'll have that. Story of my life. I did not know that. I work with doctors and therapists mostly because I have a great deal of knowledge about personality disorder, shame, trauma, and I am also a prison advocate. So I did not know that, but I will be happy to advise you when you finish it so you don't get screwed. Oh, thank you. I'm working on the second draft of the third. It's 3 books in a series, and I'm working on finishing up the second draft of the third one right now. Well, except no, I'm not, because I realized I had to restructure it. So actually, what would have been the middle of the second part is now the end of the third. No, middle of the third is actually now the beginning of the words. Yeah, but it sounds like you have a really fascinating professional repertoire there, Joe. Wow. Great deal of knowledge about personality disorder, shame, trauma, and a prison advocate. Like, as in, you're like a legal advocate? Because I know they do that. They need all kinds of help over there with that. I know that. I put your name in and all your stuff immediately popped up. That's cool. See, I don't think it's a shadow ban. I think it's just that for whatever reason, it's not getting picked up by the algorithm. They were. And then it's like I monetized and it fell off a cliff. I figured it had something to do with that. I haven't been taking it personally. It is demoralizing, and it's discouraging, but I don't, it doesn't feel targeted. It feels like this is just one of those humps that I just got to get over. So I'm glad to hear that if you search for me, I do come up. That's nice, and I couldn't believe when I came up with the idea, I could not believe that name wasn't already taken by somebody. Like, surely there's another rad mom out there already. Nope. Apparently, radical feminism, one of the big bullet points is being critical of marriage and the nuclear family. I don't personally feel that translates into eschewing it altogether. And how exactly are you supposed to be critical of something if you don't have a ground level understanding of it? I mean, we were all kids. We all had our family of origin, right? But like, gosh, if I haven't, come to a whole lot of greater understanding about a whole lot of that in the last 20 years or so. And, if you're not straight or don't want to have a family for whatever reason, then fine. then it's not even a discussion. Like, if you don't want, my genius father gave me permission to be interested in everything. So I've always felt free to dive deeply into what fascinates me. Right? My parents met at a Mensa meeting. So that probably tells you about everything you need to know there. I can't help diving deeply into what fascinates me because I don't know. The best way to illustrate it almost is to talk about the opposite. My husband told me this story about a fellow who had, and I've talked about this before too. So some of you may have heard this already, but a story about a fellow who'd been in the armed forces, right, for like his entire adult life. So that when he got out, like his mid 40s or something, he didn't know what to do with himself. He did not know how to get himself out of bed in the morning. Like, how do you just do that without somebody standing there telling you to? And I just thought that's why I'd join the armed forces, because like I don't understand that. I am, and I took a nap the other day. I've taken a couple of naps recently, and that is real unusual for me. Just the laying in bed, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, even when I'm depressed, I'm just not. I've constantly stuff bubbling up from inside, and like it doesn't stop. It adds up. When I'm busy with other stuff, it's still bubbling up inside. All these ideas are still percolating, and they just pile up in my head. And I just could not fathom being so highly regimented as that and constantly having somebody there telling you what to do all the time. That would literally drive me crazy, I think. You do good stuff. Just keep doing it. The tides are turning and more people are interested in opinions like yours. Ooh. Sorry, redneck alert. I can't even see it. It's curtain shut. Dickhead. Thank you so much. That's just kind of the conclusion I've come to, too. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but like I've said before, this is really just how I see things. There they are. And so I drop it on there. Oh. It comes from an authentic place. Do you want to say it that way? In the modern parlance, as the kids would say. And like I say, I have stuff that just bubbles up all the time. And so I have to, and sometimes I have to go looking for them along this theme. That's really the only issue that I do have, is I tend to drift, thematically. So not surprised. Oh, the redneck thing? Yeah. No, you shouldn't be. You definitely shouldn't be surprised by the rednecks in Tennessee. No. At first, I thought somebody was targeting one of our neighbors doing that, making all that noise up and down the street. But, like, I don't know. It seems to happen at random times of the day and night, and it doesn't just happen right over here. I think it's just how that car is or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? Stuff like that. I sure don't. There, see? That is down that way. I think it just does that. It's bloody terrifying, late at night. Like, oh my God, was that a gun? No, it's that stupid car again. But, yeah, as far as diving deeply into what fascinates you, what else do people do with their lives? I don't know. I'm just one of those people. It's taken me so long to admit to myself that I am one of those people, that, and it sounds so pretentious and like, I don't know, self-important, pompous to say that, like, no, what I have going on is so much more important than, whatever. But obviously to me, it feels like it, And I feel like I'm entitled to prioritize my own perspective just like everyone else does. Yeah. I'm working on getting parole for a 48-year-old who was given life without parole, put in solitary for 10 years, starting at 18 for being present at a crime. He did not even know the shooter. He's the best conversationalist because he hasn't been pied or exposed to social media. It's so different to talk to a man like that. Pornified. Okay. Or exposed to social media. It's so fascinating to talk to a man like that. Totally different conversations. Huh. Yeah. I wager. Now, again, I am old enough to remember back before everyone was doing social media. And yeah, there used to be really distinct sort of camps, didn't there? I mean, that makes it sound aggressive, but it wasn't, to my recollection anyway. But, there were people who spent a lot of time on social media and people who didn't. I was a late adopter, and I sort of drifted away from it. This here is really all I do. And I hate sometimes that YouTube counts as social media because it's like, I just want to watch some videos, I just want to watch some people talk about interesting stuff, and I love how varied it is, fuck cable. As far as I'm concerned, cable is dead and buried forever and ever because, not only am I not just stuck with whatever the History Channel decides or the Learning Channel or whatever decides is interesting, I can save stuff and watch it later. I don't have to record the shit when it's broadcast and have a pile of tapes in the corner of the room. I can just have it hanging out on that list for whenever I get back to it. And if I don't get back to it, no one will care, including me, because it's not actually taking up space in my house, which is really nice. It's got that lovely functionality to it where the way that I used to try and use television, it functions much better for that. Without the commercials, because I have premium too. Yeah. But, of course there would be different conversations, not only just in the topics that are, seem deemed relevant, and thought about. Probably also the way they're put together, probably also the connections between them, probably also, I love how we all behave as if our behavior doesn't affect our minds when we all know better, don't we? We all know better than that. If you go outside without a coat on, you're going to catch cold. Like, okay. It's literally, and then being sick affects your mind, doesn't it? Like, it's a feedback loop, and pretending that it's not is like one of the biggest forms of denial. And, I swear, sometimes I think religion functions as a break in that feedback loop, so we don't have to admit that we're actually in charge of the shit that we do. Which brings me back to hypnosis, that thing about how they still can't find consciousness. They still can't find it. Even in a functional fMRI, a functional magnetic resonance imaging machine, they still can't find it. My theory on that is because it's an emergent property. But, interesting take on religion. Sometimes it functions that way. Religion is one of those things that is multifaceted too, like people. But, see, I didn't even think I'd come up with that metaphor. I thought that's what that term was referring to. Multifaceted, like a gemstone, where you can't necessarily see all the sides at once or at all. That doesn't mean they're not there or that they're not connected in a perfectly legitimate way, right? Human beings are definitely multifaceted. And, taking control of that feedback loop is a very powerful thing. And I think a whole lot of magic lives there. In actually taking responsibility for that feedback loop to any real extent, in any ongoing way. And it's like we have replaced, in a lot of ways, in modern culture, we've sort of replaced spirits with the unconscious. Which is still just a step closer to saying, like, you did that, though. Oh, I unconsciously thought... Yeah, you thought that. Like, you did that. What's in your unconscious? Mostly stuff you put there. So, it seems sort of backwards in that way. The perception of it is, the cause and effect is reversed. And I'm sort of losing my train of thought because it's loud out here today. And long story short, I was watching somebody talk about religion the other day, and he used the word interchange. He used the word religion when I would have said faith, because religion to me is the external structure thing, It really is social media, because now when you yell at your TV, people can yell back at you. Right. If you take the time to type it. And sometimes people do seem to leave comments as if they are yelling at the screen in a way that no one can hear them, don't they? That's true. Boy, it's like jet lag, like cultural jet lag. Like no, but so interesting. I keep coming back to religion, and it's because of that faith thing. Because of there is an organic germ to all of that, and y'all, we've been ignoring this for way too long, and I'm just seeing rumblings all over the place of get ready for that coming religious revival, because it's gonna happen. Mark your calendars, I'm telling you. And I've been worried about this for years, because times of uncertainty, what happens? As a student of history, these things go certain ways, and being in denial about it isn't going to help anything. And if there is some sort of organic germ to faith, we sure as shit don't want grifters and conservatives in charge of that, do we? Oh my God. So terrifying. No, and somebody had said last week about, if you live in Bloomington, I assume you have some, experience with hippies. Was talking about how, it's difficult to make religion a grift in a liberal context. And I said, no. What about all those random tarot readings on TikTok that are in no way for anyone? I feel like there's definitely a way. The same way we have huge evidence that wealth or fame do not make for a happy life, but everyone thinks they will be different if they get wealthy. Right. Or that wealth and fame are not evidence of being especially smart or talented. I saw a statistical breakdown of that recently. That the person who's most successful is actually probably just a little bit above average and lucky. Which I like to think of those people as, the ones that are just smart enough to know they're smarter than a lot of people and not smart enough to realize that that's a double-edged sword. For real. Once you've got enough money to meet your needs, more of it ain't gonna help you. Right? No matter where you go, there you are, right? You can buy all the yachts you want and sail all the way around the world, and there you will be. You can't get away from yourself. My dad used to say he couldn't believe in a God that would invent both the nervous system and the food chain. My favorite one is literally the human body. I mean, this right here. What's with this? What's with this pipe thing that connects, the brain and the gut? The food and the air both have to pass through the same pipe. If that's not a recipe for disaster, I don't know what is. Oh my God, my flatmate basically believes that wealthy people are smarter, and it's so frustrating. It's like the what do you call it? The secular version of the prosperity gospel. And they've proven that. Actually, it starts making people less empathic and more cruel. Yeah. Because you have fewer adverse experiences, so it becomes more difficult to put yourself in other people's shoes when they have some. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty rudimentary psychological phenomenon, really. And you see it in action all the time. The son of a self-made man right? Those two guys are going to be very different, aren't they? Just there's nothing you can do about that, I don't think. It even makes intuitive sense, right? Like, as you get richer, you probably have more yes men around you and fewer people around you calling attention to your mistakes, so you stop improving. Yeah, right. The more, okay. And this is one of the, going back to religion, I don't know why I keep doing this, but this is what put me off of Buddhism. That whole wanting is suffering, wanting is the root of all suffering. I'm like, wanting is also the root of all progress, though. Like, I saw that right off. Wanting is literally the thing that gets me out of bed every day. I mean, yeah, if you didn't want anything, then you wouldn't suffer when you didn't get it. But honestly, Buddhism seems so, it's fucking nihilistic, okay? Like, what's the point of wanting anything anyway? You're not always going to get it. You're just going to end up suffering. Existence is suffering. Excuse you? Fucking hell. I don't know. It seems a little ungrateful to me. Fuck this whole life business. This shit hurts anyway. But, as a religion, it's like the world is awful. We'll never not be awful. Best we can do is just not care. Right, yeah! Bell Soto Zen, which is just the pure teachings of Buddha, are actually just philosophy to help you avoid suffering, and it's very helpful. Okay. I am not the most learned soul when it comes to Buddhism, but I was reading some of it back in the day, and I kept running into that notion. And I learned later, like, it's present in Christian philosophy, asceticism. This idea, it's present in a lot of different philosophical schools of thought, where this idea, this concept that in order to get closer to God, you have to withdraw from the world. And that's not all at all what it teaches. That's just the westernized version of it, and we destroy everything. Yeah. Well, like I say, this school of thought, I'm not going to say this represents all of Buddhism or all of Christianity. Obviously, all Christians are not ascetics, are they? But there is this same school, like monks. Was it Francis? Who was the first monk? The first guy to go and be a hermit in a cave and, become super holy because of it? And he started that whole thing, which became, the abbeys and the monasteries of medieval Europe. Like, that idea blew up, right? But so, it can, in a lot of different schools of thought, it's treated with a certain reverence. This idea that people who can push themselves that far from the world are somehow more holy. And I'm sorry, but like, we were given this life by whoever or whatever so we could try and get away from it? And just the prevalence. Monasticism is fascinating. Oh, it is. It is. I'm not saying it's not. What a flowering of culture that was, eh? From this one idea. One of my best friends is a Dominican friar. Holy shit, really? My God, parties at your house must be amazing. You should have people over and start a YouTube channel just recording y'all's chit-chat conversations and shit over drinks. America's behaving like the young teenager it is. Yeah. That's for sure. I get the pull. Right, so that's what I'm saying. A lot of people get the pull. Okay? I have this strange notion, based on my own personal experience, that pull might be real somehow. And I, for one, am really tired of a bunch of conservative old whack jobs being in charge of that. This idea goes back, I know, in the roots of Christianity anyway, to the idea that, it's why Joan of Arc got burnt at the stake, because she was talking to God without the help of a priest, which is heresy on its own, or was at the time, and for a long time. Okay, like, you can't talk to God on your own. You need a priest, which part of the Protestant Reformation was about that, because And that's been a big fight, I think, where like the powers that be, whatever they be, obviously want to keep their authority. Excuse me, but that's like having authority over grass. You can't be the spiritual authority. I feel like it doesn't work like that. I feel like that doesn't work like that. I don't know. Maybe God's multifaceted too. I actually did once get coffee with my monk friend, a TRA friend, and a gay friend. 'Twas wild. Oh my gosh. Like, okay, monks don't go around in modern times dressed like monks, do they? If only because, I mean, you would have spent the entirety of the 1970s getting pilloried, right? Like, they don't do that anymore, do they? I like to imagine he does, but I figure he probably doesn't. Oh, no, they do. They do? They do? Oh my gosh! I'm sorry. I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I think that's amazing. Like we were just saying, monasticism is this long tradition with all of this amazing culture. That's pretty cool, actually. People laugh at him for wearing his habit. It really pisses me off. No, I'm sure they do. And I think, I don't know about over there, but I know around here, people are actually a lot kinder about manner of dress than they were, say, 30 years ago. You know, back in the 90s, you used to get a lot of, like, actually, that line, there's a line in Home Alone about getting beat up for wearing a bird sweater that, like, I noticed my kids didn't laugh at like we did. Like, they don't understand that was a real thing. Like, no, people used to actually get beat up for wearing a shirt. And you definitely shouldn't get, I mean, I don't know. That's extremely immature. I don't know that I could help but stare. But like I say, in my mind, I would not be sitting there thinking, my God, look at that asshole. But like, I do tend to think about religion as culture. But I wager someone like that doesn't, right? I wager someone who has devoted their lives to it to such an extent probably believes a lot of that stuff, right? I don't know. And maybe it's just people my age who, like, I really appreciate, at this point, I wear whatever the fuck I want. And I appreciate when I notice someone else does too. You know? Yeah, it's like there's a whole episode of The Simpsons about how Homer ends up in a mental institute for wearing a pink shirt to work. Makes no sense now. Right. I feel like that didn't quite make sense at the time. I mean, that was satirical at the time. That was extreme at the time. But like, yeah, it's definitely less policed these days. You might be able to blame social media for that just because people are exposed to so many different, perspectives in sort of a rapid fire fashion that when you go outside and people are dressed different than you, it's like, and so what? There is no God in authentic Buddhism. Right, yeah. Tibetan Buddhism adds all kinds of deities and crap, but that's not Buddhism. Okay. I believe what I was reading about was Zen Buddhism, which is Japanese, I believe. But it's really the asceticism that bothers me. And as I say, that exists in every faith I've looked at. I think it's a man thing. I actually think it's related to stuff like, I am incapable of believing in a God. I'm not asking you to. Like, that's cool. So, are you a Buddhist then? Is that what you're saying? In a philosophical sense. I know that, they've injected spirituality into Buddhism where it doesn't necessarily need to be. I am aware of that. But like I say, it's part of the, and by that point, I was in my 20s and I had read up on several of them, and Buddhism was third or fourth in line. And I had hopes for that one, and I just sort of got disgusted, and I kind of gave up really reading into that one because I was in my early 20s and I just was, I'm like, really? More of this awful, navel-gazing asceticism shit? Really? 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 Thich Nhat Hanh, my teacher, started engaged Buddhism because he felt that it wasn't enough to find peace in yourself if you did not take it out into the world. And I think if you truly do find peace in yourself, it inspires you to do exactly that. Honestly, I feel like a lot of religious people don't actually believe in God, at least not in the same way that they believe in gravity. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Gosh, what was I saying? I feel like I was on a tear there. Buddhism has the asceticism. Yeah. How that seems like a masculine thing to me. And this is just a pet theory of mine. But like I was watching something about Chris McCandless the other day and the dark side of that story. Aside from the obvious, that dude starved to death. So, but like apparently there have been several people who followed in his footsteps, like literally either trying to like imitate his behavior and go live out in the wild, or literally to go and find the bus that he died in the Alaskan wilderness. Religions have done horrible things to women and children throughout history. Right. And that's part of what I'm getting at. Why is that? Okay. This man went out and starved to death in the woods. That's what happened. And I've heard several other stories, and not just from modern era either. There are other stories of men who get this idea in their head that they're just going to go off into the woods and find the answer, or the desert, or whatever. I find it exceedingly weird that people actually believe they can know the unknowable to the extent people claim to. Right. And like, here's the head scratcher for you. If you did actually have any kind of understanding of the unknowable, how in the fuck could you possibly explain it to anyone? Riddle me that. I don't think that's possible. And if there is such a thing, I think that's why religion always fails. Because that's what it's attempting to do. Is it, give knowledge that is unknowable. How in the hell do you do that? With a book? Surely not. You hear the seagulls? That's weird. We're in Tennessee. Why in the hell are there seagulls? Why? Because there's a massive lake reservoir, like right over there. So, no. Kind of makes me feel like, at home, because Cleveland, Ohio has seagulls too, because of Lake Erie. So, tangentially related, but I'm the only atheist mod in an online community of LGBT Catholics. Long story. I bet it is. Last week, the Vatican finally condemned transitioning as sinful. I didn't hear about that. Oh dear. Ooh. Oh dear. Okay. That's going to be very difficult for some very interesting people. We regularly get trans people joining the space and asking questions about how to reconcile being Catholic and trans. I don't know what else I can tell them now besides you can't. Yeah. He kind of blew that for you, didn't he? I'm a moderator for an ex-Scientology group, and I've never been in Scientology. Got in trouble with the other mods over it. But, like, you're right. If he says that, what are you going to do? Question the Pope? Not and be Catholic. That's how that works. Which just goes back to what I was saying about being the spiritual authority. Good luck with that. Even the people who want to let you be that a lot of times will struggle too. Because it doesn't work that way. To be fair to them, you can question the Pope on most things, but still. Right, but that would be a direct challenge, right? Of just taking what the Pope said and, Henry VIII style being like, yeah, but no. Right? That's nice, but I'm going to do it anyway. Which is what one might call an un-Catholic thing to do. Just saying. Giving the Pope the finger. It's not exactly a very... Come on, what's the word? The opposite of heresy. What is it? Come on. Help me out. I've been sick and sleeping a lot, and I feel better today, and that's why I'm talking so much. Thanks for putting up with me. Girl, no, talk all you want. This is fun. This is great. Not blasphemy. No, the opposite of that. The opposite of blasphemy and heresy. The being good. What's that called? Pious. Giving the Pope the middle finger would not exactly be the most pious thing to do, would it? It's a straight up cult that labor traffics children tax-free. It's wacky. Piety. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you. Right. Yeah. As far as the Catholic Church, literally don't get me started. I have never been Catholic. I have a couple of very Catholic friends. I went to their very Catholic wedding. It was lovely. I don't... and that's where I'm going to stop there. Because... Where do you end? Really? Where do you end with that one? Oh my gosh. Straight in the hell they invented, right? Oh my god. But, they have then also had some of the most famous ascetists. And like I say, I don't understand. I mean, and that makes me technically a hedonist in that I just really cannot get on board with this whole life is terrible and we should try and get away from it thing. Like, an all-knowing, all-loving deity. So, of course, there's actually a school of not exactly Christian thought, but I want to say the Gnostics. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. The Demiurge? No, they actually believe that the world was created by a demon, essentially. I didn't mean that in the... Oh, wait. Honestly, I don't want to asperse that Scientologists, are all stupid or whatever, but I genuinely struggle to believe how people hear the sales pitch for that religion and think, seems legit. I didn't mean that in a negative way. I've often wished I could believe in something. I just don't have the ability to. I don't know why. Perhaps you are not looking for answers in that way. I don't know. I used to wish that I could believe in stuff. And, what's wrong with reality? Like, again, it's just the same question. Like, what's wrong with being a tiny speck in a massive universe? Like, what's wrong with that? To me, that, takes all the pressure off. You're like, to me, that realization was like, oh, my God. So I could do whatever I want with my time? Oh, thank goodness. That's amazing. Same. That's why I'm an atheist Christian. See, I feel like the first part follows. Why are you a Christian, though? That's strange. But they promise them rational-sounding technology at the beginning, and it just gets weirder as they go. But then they get trapped because if they leave, their families will shun them. Right, which is what makes it a cult. And it's interesting because Christianity has functioned that way and sometimes still does, but doesn't have to. Right? So, that right there has led me for a long time. It's not that something either is a cult or isn't. Which is one of the reasons I love that now, the dialogue around that, the conversation around that has moved to talking about how they behave, the effects, what they do, not the beliefs. Because the beliefs are irrelevant. Whether you believe in Jesus or aliens, it doesn't matter. What does the group do? How do they make their adherents behave? What is the outcome of those behaviors? Honestly, I'm a Christian because I think religious observance is good for people, even if God isn't real. Yeah. I always have found hollow adherence like that to be difficult, though. It's like, flipping through the pages of a book you can't read, right? This is then what do you do? You know, the YouTuber Breaking in the Habit has a great video on whether monasticism itself is a cult. I can't speak to that. In modern times, I can't speak to that. Historically, yeah, there have definitely been at least a couple of different periods I can think of off the top of my head that I think would qualify. Yeah, and that it was predatory, for sure. I'm also extremely cautious about the dangers of religion. I think, like all things, religion can be used for good or for evil. Right. Which, again, I'm just going to bring up my personal definition of that, which is like constructive versus destructive, which is what we go right back to whenever we're talking about how cults behave, right? Do their practices destroy people? Do their practices destroy people's relationships? Do their practices destroy people's lives? Then that's an evil cult, right? Duh. And if they don't, even if they believe some weird shit, if they function in society, it's real hard to be like, that's a cult. Because they're just not. Even if they believe weird shit. I have definitely met some people that believe some weird shit and still held a job and had friends and were normal people otherwise, right? I think the trick is to find the good in things without feeling an obligation to also support what you disagree with. And this is actually a question I've been mulling over in various contexts for a while, is, are the more reasonable, rational people in any group responsible for the extremists who fly that same banner? I mean, I struggle with that. Sometimes I feel like it needs to be a package deal when it really doesn't. Well, that's that groupthink that everyone is struggling with these days, which is an unconscious thing, and we forget that a lot of this stuff is like natural, good, organic mechanisms that have just been totally hijacked in one way or another. Okay? It's not that we need to stop thinking as a group, because that's not going to work. That's not going to get us anywhere collectively, is it? It's not that we need to kill groupthink, it's that it's been, twisted into this weird form that tends towards hysteria and shit like that. Right. The unknowable, if experienced, is unshareable. Oh, okay. It seems like you're on a little bit of a delay, but yeah. Right. How in the hell? That's one of my favorite things, is when people claim to know the unknowable. It's like, how in the hell are you telling me about it? With words. That's like pushing the sea through a straw, right? How? Wow. Wow. That's an amazing trick. I'm not going to say nobody has ever experienced anything unknowable, but how in the hell would you possibly tell anyone about it? The YouTuber streamer Destiny says the groupthink has gotten real bad now, to the point where people tend to adopt clusters of political beliefs all at once. Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's always happened, and it's not always bad. Is it? Okay? Somewhere around the Enlightenment period, the Western civilization as a group pretty much en masse decided that witchcraft was not something they needed to be afraid of. And, persecution of heretics and witches and all that kind of shit basically just fell through the floor over the course of the 17th century. Why? Because as a group, everybody kind of got past that. It's literally that simple. Sometimes this is good. This can be used for good, okay? In the modern era, most people have just decided that the color of somebody's skin is not going to tell you a whole lot about the content of their character. Most of us have just arrived at that. Most little kids just kind of know that anyway. And as a culture, we have just all sort of decided to make this turn en masse. Is that a bad thing? This can be this is just an organic function of humanity that has been twisted and perverted and, can be used to drum up all sorts of awful hysteria, and has been in the past. This is not new to social media. But, we all know what an expert Destiny is on everything, right? So, I don't know how you feel about him It's a him, right? I feel like I knew a girl in middle school called Destiny. Like, I don't know anything about this YouTuber. I admit to having never watched any of those videos because, uh, so I don't know how do you feel about this person? What give me the 411 on that. Awesome, nice out here. I wish it were sunnier, but at least it's decently warm. I'm gonna have to prune this ivy. My goodness, look at this. I love Destiny. He's a very reasonable liberal. Oh, okay. Was he mean to Kelly J. Keene or something? I heard. I don't know. He's one of those people who literally only comes across my windshield, desktop, whatever, comes across my view screen whenever he's disagreeing with someone who I'm interested in, I think. I have a vaguely negative impression of that name, and that is literally it. Bill, what's the channel name? I bet there's a million channels called Destiny, right? Oh boy. Well, and frankly, I stopped gathering new liberal input a while back because I have plenty, and they all went pro-trans. And I just got tired of watching it. I just got tired of watching them all say this shit. Everybody from Jon Stewart to Bill Nye to Cenk Uygur to everybody. And Stephen Colbert. I'm just like, you know what? I don't need to hear this from new people who I don't already have a positive opinion of. I just can't even. Joe, just type in Destiny. It'll be the first result. Probably Destiny was mean to Kelly J. Keene, which would make me like him more. It's so ridiculous. What, the Destiny being mean to Kelly J. Keene thing? I did not really get the lowdown on that because I don't care about other people's drama, frankly. I don't know. I'm not that level of interested. Destiny isn't questioning on the trans stuff. Like, he's able to see through the TRA bullshit on, say, trans women and women's sports. That's good. Okay. Maybe I'll check out his channel sometime. I am interested, in hearing other perspectives than my own. Actually, and I was saying this to my husband the other day, one of my favorites in that vein is, and I'm sure you've heard of him, and I can't remember his name. Dankula. Count Dankula. I'm sure you've heard of him. I disagree with like 75% of what that guy says, but he is so funny that it is entertaining to hear regardless. So it's like the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down when I'm doing, trying to get a feel for the other side. You know what I mean? The Hitler pug guy, which, like, to be fair, I'm totally on his side in that one. That was some bullshit. Okay, that's part of the 25% in which he and I agree. Okay, it's the freedom of speech stuff. No, I'm with him on that. A lot of his social commentary is conservative as all hell. The dog thing was hilarious. Yeah, right. No, that was stupid. And like the fact that apparently he ended up marrying that girl, so she was cool with it. So that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. She thought it was funny enough to marry the guy. So, like you, I pay Destiny no never mind. I was agreeing with you on watching Primetime Libs fall in line with a trans. Oh, yeah, that is so ridiculous. Yeah. Sorry. It's hard to parse sometimes what is lined up with what. But yeah, so I can't take, I stopped taking on any new liberal voices, for my subscription feed because of that. Because I don't want to hear them talk about that shit. And the younger they are, the more they like to talk about that shit. And I'm not interested. It's just going to upset me. And I don't have, already pre-built up my own bias. I don't have pre-built up positive regard for a lot of these people. So, like, Why am I going to fight through that? I'm pretty sure other animals think we're the most ridiculous thing they've ever seen. I get the feeling a lot of other animals are kind of terrified of us, but I think that's just because we will eat anything, won't we? And, I still watch the folks I had been watching, I still watch a lot of liberal stuff because what? I'm going to go conservative? That never made any damn sense to me either. It's like, well, I disagree vehemently with these people on this one important point. Therefore, I'm just going to run full bore the other way. No. We will eat anything. Yeah, right. The younger they are, the stupider their take tends to be also. Right, yeah, because they don't have the life experience to inform them that it's bullshit. That's plain enough. And so I'm just going to leave them to it for the most part. I just leave them to it. I don't need to hear about that. And I don't need to try and push myself to like them through their stupidity. And like I say, it's not like if I do, I do watch more conservative stuff these days in that I watch any. So as I say, I try to get a feel for what the fuck it is they're talking about over there because it does matter. Like to me, to all of us, it matters. What people on the other side of the ideological fence think, that does matter. I've gone from a bleeding heart liberal to a radical person because I was also a feminist my whole life, and it's very weird. Right? Same. That's really the where the name Rad Mom comes from. It's a meeting of those two things in that way. I have no political home. Yeah. Feminism? I kind of think of that as my political home, and I'm trying to make myself pretty comfortable here. There seems to be a whole lot of people throwing that word around and creating a whole lot of confusion about what exactly the fuck feminism is, and just because you call something feminism doesn't make it feminism. But I guess I digress for now. I talk about that a lot. No, right? Some people seem to think, hey, I disagree with Biden that trans women are women, so that means billionaires should be allowed to haunt us for sport, probably. Yeah. Which, it's something from that podcast with ContraPoints and Matt Bernstein that I cut out. I cut out most of it. To focus on that one point. But where they were talking about how apparently somebody took a TikTok account and, liked nothing but TERF stuff. And the algorithm fed it a bunch of other conservative, weird, scary shit. Right? And they took this as, they're like, oh yeah, and that's totally how it happens in real life. Not seeming to understand that demonstrates a bias on the part of the algorithm. Not the person being, bombarded with this shit. Not to sound snobby, but it's really difficult to be intelligent on this planet. Yes, the turf to conservative pipeline is real. Right, but where? I mean, I'm just not feeling it myself. I'm not going to say this never happens to anybody, but like how there's a detrans woman to tradwife pipeline. Again, where? And if it is anywhere, it is in those algorithms, right? I don't think this is an organic psychological phenomenon. Or if it is, it should be a hell of a lot more rare, where people literally go, just flip their identity and do a 180 in your life. That's called a crisis. That's called a midlife crisis. This is not your regular average personal growth. As someone who's always been uncomfortable joining things, I find it exceedingly weird. Why is my phone ringing? Hello? His phone is here. He is at work, baby. I'm sorry. We have to go to Gatlinburg on Friday. Yeah. And I'm on the camera for 5 more minutes. So, okay. I will see you when you get here. Okay, you can tell me all about that when you get home, okay? I'll probably be off here by then. Love you. Bye. Ah! In the mixed detrans communities I joined when I detransitioned, the detrans to tradwife pipeline was frequently discussed. Happens often enough, sometimes with the detrans men too, to trad husbands. That's because the liberals who should actually be supporting them are not. Yeah. Gosh, I was writing about that back on my blog like 4 years ago. Yeah, yeah, because liberals are not worried about them. And part of it goes back to that spiritual thing I was talking about, because God forbid you actually want to have any of that in your life. Any kind of like I'm literally married with 4 kids. Does it get any more conservative than that as a lifestyle? Like, if there were a turf to tradwife pipeline, I should know about it. I don't live this way because of my, political beliefs, or because I'm trying to be some sort of example to everyone else. I don't know. Fully agree. I hate when liberals accuse detransitioners of grifting for sharing their stories. It's so gross. Yeah, right. Did you accept a speaking gig at a conservative venue? Grifter. When, meanwhile, they're the only people interested in hearing about any of that. Yeah, somehow you managed to be a housewife without being weird about it. Thank you, Ray. The skill classically Abby apparently struggles with. Well, I think it goes back to that internal churning I was talking about. Like, I do. I'm not bragging. You want to talk about a blessing or a curse? Like, it is both, okay? Where I do just constantly have ideas bubble up all the time. All the time. Stuff just occurs to me and, like, make connections in the back of my head just all the time. There's nothing I can do about it. And it doesn't go away. I don't think everybody has that. I think a lot of people really do need something external, at least, especially in their younger adulthood, which Abby still is, mind you. As far as I know, she's in her 20s, to ground themselves in. But if that thing itself isn't grounded, it's not going to fucking help you. It's just going to make you more lost. I was a stay-at-home mom. I fought for that right, and no one who knows me would ever think of me as conservative. Right. And this is where feminism comes in, because we as women need to be able to talk about this without it getting rolled up in a bunch of conservative nonsense. And that is so difficult, which again is why I went with Rad Mom. I want to force this conversation if I have to. I want to talk about this because my decision to do the basic biological responsibility of nurturing my own small children after they were born has absolutely nothing to do, in most part, with my political beliefs. I don't see those two things as being intrinsically connected in most ways, unless it was women's issues. In that case, yeah, I'm going to have a lot of opinions on those, politically. But my fellow transes accuse me of being a conservative constantly. We were disagreeing with them. It's exhausting. Oh, right, yeah. Well, that's a stupid argument. You disagree with me, therefore you must not understand. Let me explain some more. It's like, no. Well, you got it. You're just wrong, though. Some folks seem unable to fathom that someone who's broadly good happens to disagree with them on one or two issues. Yeah, but also, and again, I'm not trying to sound snobby, but most people do seem to struggle to really entertain an idea to any serious degree without agreeing with it. It's like they have this reflexive rejection of it that keeps them from really looking at it. I don't know. But so, it is time to go. Most people probably couldn't explain their opponent's arguments in their own words. Right. Right. Which is one of the reasons healthy debate is actually really good for everybody. I think Joe is on a delay, so oop, typing. This was lovely. It was. Thank you. See you next week. Yes, thanks. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Thank you guys. This was a fun one. Really. And I promised somebody I'd watch Contra's video this week and I didn't get to it, but I don't think they showed up anyway. So I'm gonna get away while I can. See you next week, guys. Bye.